Hello, everybody. Welcome to Global Trends Festival. This is the event we created basically to put in front of you every year the most important trends from all different areas of life and business that should actually help you and inform your near-term plans. It's not about long-term plans, robots that will be conquering our world in 50 years from now. It's about basically hearing something very concrete that can help you do a better business in the year to come, but also to become a better manager and better humans at the end of the day. Now, last year, from the same very stage, I opened this conference basically by trying to put in front of you the most important trends that we define as the trends that at the same time were the trends to save the world and save the planet. It was simply coming out of the circumstance and the reality in which we found ourselves. We highlighted a couple of those trends, like sustainability, fight against the fake news, zero waste, sharing economy. We also said that purpose is very strongly correlated with profits, and that the time that came is actually enabling us that by doing good, we can also do great business. And that was amazing. Now, looking back basically what happened in the last 1 year, we see that the trends that were maybe appearing with a couple of the businesses around the world, rather smaller, are now really reaching the scale. So if we talk about the zero waste, I remember at the conference we were talking about the first shopping mall appearing somewhere in Norway for the used and recycled goods. Now we see that huge conglomerates like IKEA are actually basically changing their strategy and introducing also recycled used items in their regular offer. Companies like Zalando are actually introducing the marketplace for used goods. We see that one of the most successful IPOs in US since 2000 was the company called Beyond Meat, which was basically which found a way to produce alternatives to meat. We see also that the companies that had in their DNA good quality content and fight against the fake news and also fight against the clickbait, like New York Times, is reaching all-time highs in terms of number of subscribers. In Poland, BNP Paribas, who put the purpose in the core of all of their activities, basically is recording 50% growth of their profits. And this is all amazing. But you might ask yourself, okay, what happened here? And for that, I would like to remind you, and for those of you who wasn't with us last year, on one slide, which is basically explaining very well what happened here. Here we see the Bartlett's law. Basically, it's a law that tells us that we, as the humans, we are not able to predict, or not maybe to predict, but to imagine exponential curve and exponential growth of the particular trend. We usually see something which is starting very small, which is a new trend, and then we expect that this will end up somewhere down here on this graph with the pace that we observe currently. However, what usually happens is that for some of these trends, this curve starts going very steeply up, and then only those companies who were early enough in addressing those trends are the ones who benefit from that. So what those companies that I was showing you on the previous slide were doing, they did exactly the same like Apple, Amazon, and Netflix did a couple of years ago when they addressed the new technological trends which were back then emerging. Not too early, but also not too fast. Now, knowing what we know, let's think maybe together, what will be the trends that will shape our year 2021, year in front of us. And when thinking basically what could be the umbrella of all of these important trends, we came up with the concept that the most important trends that will shape the year in front of us are the ones that will maybe for the first time or maybe bring back responsibility to the businesses, responsibility to the companies. Now, what do I have in mind when I talk about responsibility, and where can we bring this responsibility back? First, and probably one of the most important, we are all witnessing the huge mass disinformation which is happening around us. This phenomena can actually have a very negative impact on our lives, and it does already. And what do I have in mind? I would like to show you in one video.
7th, the hashtag Pizzagate was born.
Pizzagate, oh boy. I still am not 100% sure how this originally came about, but the idea that ordering a pizza meant ordering a trafficked person. As the groups got bigger on Facebook, Facebook's recommendation engine started suggesting to regular users that they join Pizzagate groups. So if a user was, for example, anti-vaccine or believed in chemtrails or had indicated to Facebook's algorithms in some way that they were prone to belief in conspiracy theories, Facebook's recommendation engine would serve them Pizzagate groups. Eventually, this culminated in a man showing up with a gun, deciding that he was going to go liberate the children from the basement of the pizza place that did not have a basement.
What are you doing in the location?
Making sure there's nothing there.
Pedophile ring. Regarding what? Pedophile ring. Pizzagate.
Even more radical example is what's happening around us as we speak, basically. We see the appeal of Mr. Director General of World Health Organization, who is saying that we are fighting actually infodemic and not only pandemic. Like, you know, we see people on the streets who do not believe that epidemic is really out there. We see a lot of false information about the medicines that we could use, and all of that is really becoming or could become even a threat to our lives. So one of the most important things is like our responsibility to stop with this mass disinformation. Another important trend I would like to drive your attention to is strongly related what we defined previously as purpose being strongly correlated with the profits. What we see now is that the new trend is rather saying that there won't be profits if there is no purpose. Like the current circumstance is forcing all the businesses out there to put people in front of short-term profits. And if this doesn't happen, those companies could become very easily punished by their customers. Luckily, there are a lot of great examples of the companies that are showing the way, like Ford and General Electric, who throughout the pandemic basically reorganized their production lines and started producing respirators jointly. We saw Louis Vuitton group who actually started producing hand sanitizers. I'm very happy that our flagship brand here in Poland, called Onet, also contributed to the large extent by creating the platform through which basically big companies were able to help small companies which were struggling due to the COVID effect. And it's not only about us doing something good and being awarded because of that. It's also about that if we don't do and if we do not act, the trail will stay. And there are pages on the internet, databases appearing all around the globe, which are actually recording what every particular company did for some of the important causes and important, basically, environmental and other threats that are surrounding us these days. And as you can see, like those companies can be filtered into zeros and heroes. And I'm pretty sure that none of us would actually like to be in this category of zeros. Another important trend is privacy, or actually our responsibility of bringing back privacy of users and bringing that on the top of the agenda of the big companies out there. Luckily, this trend is already there. Privacy, basically, as a problem appeared due to the fact that, you know, at the beginning, companies, under the excuse of creating amazing and personalized experiences for the users and better fit the products to their need, started collecting data in a ways that were not really known to the users, and those data were actually later on used to manipulate those same very users. Now we have a reverse trend. We have users who are aware that this is happening, are insisting and not accepting and not being willing to build a loyal relationship with the brands and the companies if there is no privacy. So privacy is definitely something to pay attention to. Important trend that exists for quite a while is basically trend of companies trying to help saving the planet. You know, there were a lot of initiatives, a lot of companies were basically involving their PR and marketing departments in those activities. They were investing quite some resources for this cause. However, what we saw is that the rhetoric was rather negative. Yeah? So we were all together scaring people with what might happen if we do not act when it comes to protecting our planet. What we see now is that there is a big change, rather going in the direction of us showing basically what positively we can do, what positive things we can do to save our planets, actually, how we can act. And the best examples of how this can be done in a fantastic way gave David Attenborough in his latest movie for Netflix, where he's really giving very well and argumented explanation what we as companies, as society, as governments can do actually to change the situation and have much better situation 50 years from now. Another important trend that seems skyrocketing, particularly now after we all been hit by pandemic, is a high growth of anxiety. Yeah? Anxiety is reaching all-time highs. We see that depression is one of the leading causes of illness and disability among our youngsters, according to World Health Organization. And this is definitely a problem that on one hand is caused with what's happening with the pandemic, but at the same time it's caused by so many trigger and distractors in the form of technologies and push notifications that are basically heavily influencing our lives. And we have the responsibility to bring the attention to this problem. There are brands who are doing it very well. There are brands who are not perceptive enough on this problem, and they failed basically to notice. One example is Gucci, that actually created a fashion collection which was very much resembling uniforms in the mental health institutions. They were punished, but not only by their fashion models, as we can see on this illustration here, but also by many of their customers. At the same time, we have a positive examples of Microsoft, which is basically introducing AI-driven filters, which are basically blocking the swearing and toxic language, which is very frequently happening in the gaming applications. Last but not the least, I would even say probably one of the most important, this was us just a couple of years ago. Like, we as a human beings, like we love spending time with each other. Like, we were spending a lot of good quality time with each other. Here on the right, you can see basically how our conference, or one of the stages of our conference, looked like just 1 year ago. However, our world looks rather like this today. But even before that, like, I'm pretty sure that many of you actually watching this presentation had the situation where you were sitting at the table, there were several different people just basically observing what's happening on their phone and not really paying attention to what's happening around them. We believe that there will be a huge need in the years to come, and even in the year 2021, for coming back towards these good quality social connections among people. And it is our responsibility of all of us to make this happen. Now, you might ask yourself, okay, so how can we leverage from everything we heard today? There are several different ways. You can do it directly if you belong to one of those industries, for example, social media, or you can do it indirectly by simply bringing the awareness or helping things happen. Yeah? At the end, like, I would like to show you the example of one company which I believe, even though not belonging to any of these industries I was mentioning, is doing it extremely well. So let's see the video together.
We're never alone. And that is our strength. Because when we're doubted, we'll play as one. When we're held back, we'll go farther and harder. If we're not taken seriously, we'll prove that wrong. And if we don't fit the sport, we'll change the sport. We know things won't always go our way.
And the world's sporting events are postponed or cancelled.
But whatever it is, we'll find a way. And when things aren't fair, we'll come together for change.
We have a responsibility
to make this world a better place.
And no matter how bad it gets, we will always come back stronger. Because nothing can stop what we can do together.
So together, let's take some responsibility to bring back responsibility to the companies that we run, or maybe not. Thank you very much. Enjoy our conference.